Ready to take your cycling to the next level? Then you're in the right place. Get all the information you need to get faster, go longer, and cycle like a pro. This is Cycling Training Tips with David Heatley.
Hi and welcome to Cycling Informs podcast. My name's David Heatley and I'm going to be interviewing Ken Murley. Now he's just returned from the World Triathlete Championships in Canada where he achieved a rare triple in the 70 to 74 age group for the ITU Sprint Olympic distance titles and then the WTC Half Ironman, that's the 70.3 events, all within a space of 9 days. Now, he used the bike as his main weapon, so let's hook up with him and have a chat to him about it. Ken, tell us a little bit about what you've just done and the lead up to it.
Well, after spending a long cold winter in Melbourne training for it, I headed off to Edmonton initially in Canada, arrived over there on the 25th of August and had a week up my sleeve before the sprint distance race was on. And so that was on the 29th, Friday the 29th of August. Did that, and like a lot of these races in age groups, you don't know really where you are. Had a couple of disasters in that. My bike, the shoes came out of my bike as I went to get on, so I lost a bit of time fixing that up. And then had a bit of a bumping match on the bike with one of the American guys. He tried to cut me off coming into a corner, so some of the criterium racing I've done here stood me in good stead to fix him right up. So eventually I got round, I won that race by 5 minutes, and then I was due to do the Olympic distance race 3 days later, again in Edmonton, and so I put that first one totally out of my mind and then just focused on the Olympic distance. And same sort of process, you don't know where you are. I'd been told before the race there was a really good American guy who'd been doing some fantastic times, and I thought, well, I might as well go home now. I'm not going to be able to match it with him. But anyway, I stuck it out, and coming into the last lap of the run, you could see the other runners coming towards you, and I saw him, and he looked to be about a kilometre in front of me, and with another US guy on his tail, and I'd sort of resigned to coming third. So I got back, no one at the finish line tells you where you've come. I couldn't get any results. I went back to my hotel, and that was 11 o'clock in the morning. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, my coach here in Melbourne sent me an email which said I'd won it by 10 minutes. So wow. I nearly fell off the chair. I couldn't believe it because the two American guys were actually only starting their second lap of the run and I was finishing.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So that was a bit of a bonus. Yeah. I had a lot of problems with my bike. I'd had transporting problems turning the handlebars down. They got stuck, and I ended up breaking the Di2 controller off the end of it, which gave me a few issues. And then I had to up stakes and head across to a place called Mont Tremblant, which is it was on a bus 3 hours up above Montreal. So that sort of took a day and a bit to get over there. I had 3 days break before I had to do the 70.3 race there. Yep. And those 3 days were really spent trying to get my bike fixed. And I was sort of at one stage I'd resigned myself to the fact that I wouldn't have a bike. But at the last minute, it all came good. I got going, and despite cramping up in that race pretty badly on the run several times, I won it by 20 minutes. Right. So that was good. But the key to all of them, and I still have to thank you, David, for those early days I did with you on the wind trainer. The key to all of them was the bike. Yeah. I easily had the quickest bike leg in each of those 3 races. Yeah. It's
a fantastic opportunity because you can... Look, I don't train very many people for triathlons, but I do know one thing, and that is that you can certainly gain a lot of time on the bike if you do it right, because of the differential of speed between, a good rider and a not so good rider. You can take lots of time out. So, and I assume that that's basically what you've done to do well at these events. So on comparison, what would your run and swim times be? Are they sort of on par with your other competitors in your age group, or are you slower?
No, in my age group, when, if you look at all the results, I think in the sprint distance I was the quickest in everything.
Right. Okay.
In the Olympic distance, I was only, I think I was quickest in everything except the run, where I think I was second quickest. And the swim, because I still suffer from my shoulder injury. I had a bike crash a couple of years ago. And on the 70.3 race, I was 6 minutes behind after the swim. So, but I didn't know that. You don't know.
Yeah.
And then I set about going as hard as I possibly could for the 90k on the bike.
Yeah.
And I did, and I knew I was picking the guys up. I saw them go fast. And on the run again, I still didn't know where I was on the run, but I was third fastest in the run. But I was too far in front for them to catch me anyway.
Yeah. I
think the next quickest bloke on the bike was 10 minutes behind me.
Right. Wow. So big difference in the bike leg. Yeah.
Even on the in the sprint distance, I think I had about a 3-minute break on the next guy.
Yeah.
And in the Olympic distance, even though it's twice the distance on the bike, I even had a quicker, by comparison, a quicker bike time. So what the courses were very hilly and it was windy as well, so I was pretty happy with the bike.
Oh, well, windy and hilly course. Yeah. Well, I mean, you can certainly make a lot of time on the bike if you know how to ride something like that.
Well, for me, in the 70.3, I had a top speed, I think, of 77.6 k's an hour in a couple of spots.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
The wind is pretty scary.
Yeah. Well, you're on those tri-bars coming down.
Yeah.
Did you ride with a disc wheel as well, or you just...
No, I didn't. I couldn't take it over there with me.
Yeah.
It was too much mucking around to carry, and I was just using 404s.
Right. Yeah. Which are an awesome set of wheels on their own. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially for those sort of conditions.
Yep.
And, the speeds that you're travelling at, obviously aerodynamics plays an important role, but the faster you go, the more the aerodynamics play a role in your speed. So for those sort of events, do you know what sort of average speed you'd be doing?
Yeah, I'd say not as quick as I'd like to, but in that 70.3, because of the wind and the course, I averaged about 32.5, I think.
Yeah, right.
In the Olympic distance, I was about 35.6 or something, and I think in the sprint I was around about 35.
Yeah, so, you're not really talking about extreme aerodynamics really required at those sort of speeds. You just need to be sort of generally aero, but a lot more comfortable on the bike.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
I know with you remember, I always told you it was a goal of mine to average over 40 in a race. Well, I got in a 70.3 here in Melbourne last year, I got up to 38.7, so that was not too bad over 90 k's.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, obviously, as soon as you go over that sort of 30 kilometres an hour, aerodynamics become important. And once you get up to those dizzy sort of 38s and 40s and then 45s, it becomes critical. But, so the speeds that you're talking about for this World Championship event, the aerodynamics wouldn't have, be more about the sort of engine that you'd be working with in your power to weight ratio rather than, so a disc wheel probably wouldn't have helped you. You'd be able to shave maybe a few seconds off those sort of times with a disc wheel, but you wouldn't be talking about big time differences.
No, when I did that 38.7, I had a disc wheel with an 808 on.
Yeah,
and there was no wind, and that was along Beach Road.
Yeah, and that would have made a big difference at that sort of speeds. Yeah. Certainly at those sort of speeds at 38, a disc wheel certainly.
The disc wheel certainly, you get up around there, it does add a couple extra k's an hour to you.
Yeah, certainly when you're up at those, Yeah, it wouldn't make too much difference riding around at 35 kilometres an hour, would it?
No.
It'd be getting in the way. Yeah, all that noise coming off it, the whoosh whoosh. It's a great sound, isn't it? Yeah. So the training leading up to it, Ken, I mean, I would imagine that you'd be putting in a reasonable amount of time, not only on the bike, but out doing swimming and running. So what historically has been your strongest leg?
Well, historically, my running was.
Right, okay.
It went off, and the bike took over. I mean, this year it was off even a bit further because I had a stress fracture in my foot about, I suppose 3 months ago.
Yeah, okay.
So that dropped it back a bit. I mean, in London last year, the same time last year, I had probably the best run I've had for a long time, and I expected to carry that through. But the stress fracture, even though I was still able to swim and ride, I just couldn't run. I was going in and entered in most of all the Gatorade races, and I would still swim and ride, and I'd end up a couple of minutes in front, but then I'd just have to pull out.
Oh, really? Wow. Yeah. But obviously you got that resolved in the lead up.
Yeah. So that was good, and but my bike has definitely become the real strength, and a lot of that is to do with the grounding I had with you and learning how to pedal properly and sit properly and all that sort of thing on the bike, which as triathletes, no one sort of tells you much. The coaching there on the bike is not that good. But the other thing which helps me a lot is there are a lot of young guys in our club, and they're pretty good riders, and a heap stronger than me. I mean, my weak point is I was on hills. You just don't have the strength, when you get to 7 years old, you don't have the strength on hills that these young guys have.
Yeah.
But I can usually match it with them, on the downhills and on the straights pretty well. But come to the uphill, they leave me a bit, so I have to keep trying extra harder all the time to keep up with these guys, and I think that's been a big help for me as well.
Yeah. I know when you were doing indoor training classes with us, you're putting out some pretty good numbers anyway. But tell me, what sort of volume of training? How many hours would you be spending in the lead up to a world event? So
all through the winter, I mean, we had a fairly set pattern that we follow. So Mondays is usually the bike, and the sessions usually only go during the week for about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was done on Kew Boulevard.
Yep. Okay.
Which was good training ground. So do an hour and a half session on the bike on Mondays. Tuesday morning we would swim. Tuesday night we would run. Wednesday we'd be back on the bike again. And then Thursday, and some of those bike sessions include, what they call a brick. You're running off the bike.
Right. Okay.
And particularly like at Kew, with that top loop is there, we might go and do 2 or 3 hard laps at Kew, then just jump off the bike and run, repetition kilometres around the top loop.
Yep.
So that becomes a pretty hard session. So Thursday was a swim and a run again, and Friday is another ride. Saturday is traditionally a very long ride, so we might do King Lake or something like that, or Frankston's become a pretty frequent one lately. And then again, that might be followed by a run, anything up to an hour and a half or something.
Yeah.
And then Sunday is a long run, anything up to, sort of 2 hours.
Right, okay. Yep. Yeah, so all up you'd be doing well over 10 hours a week, wouldn't you?
Oh, easily, yeah. It's probably close to anywhere between 12 and 15 hours a week.
Yeah.
Can vary.
That's
about to go up because I'm looking doing Ironman next.
Oh, Ironman. Yeah. Oh boy. Well, there's an epic event. Look, I take my hat off to people that do Ironman events. Even people doing triathlons. So, the Ironman. Are you planning on going over to Kona? Are you?
Yeah, well, I am. My coach thinks I can win it, but I have to qualify first by doing Melbourne.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not too sure about it. It's a lot of time and effort, but we'll see how it goes.
Well, do you reckon it would help your your 70.3 Ironman?
Yeah, well, it should do because you obviously get a lot more strength. Although I've been able to do the 70.3s just doing the sprint training.
Right. Okay.
And so it would definitely help the 70.3s, but it may slow me down in the shorter ones.
Yeah, probably will.
Just by doing all the longer work. But on the other hand, maybe not.
Depends on how you mix up your training. And
If I can still do a bit of, pretty good quality, intense stuff, the short stuff should still hang around.
Yeah. So do you normally work through a sort of a base and then a strength and then a speed sort of phases with your training?
Yeah, we work in the periodisation. The coach has it all worked out, and he's pretty heavy on making sure we get proper rest. Yeah. So we just follow the traditional model of sort of 3 weeks on within that cycle.
Yeah, 3 weeks on. Yeah. 1 week off. Yeah. It's a model that we use a lot ourselves. Yeah, in fact, actually, I'm surprised because some of the more mature athletes, like in your sort of age group, we would usually run maybe a 2 week on, 1 week off. But you're an exception to the rule. You're so damn fit.
Well, he doesn't give me any favours. I've got to keep the young people. And as long as my body takes it, and it is at the moment, that's fine.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. So. That's awesome. Well, Ken, I really appreciate you taking the time out. I know you're a busy man, and it's fantastic to hear that you've got yourself a triple. It must be an awesome feeling.
Oh yeah, it was a bit hard to believe because it didn't sink in because you had to do the 3 races in 9 days.
Yeah.
I had to look at them one at a time. So when I did one, I had to totally forget about it. And I mean, I didn't even have any celebrations.
Yeah.
Until on the way home, I was travelling by myself. There was no one else left, and I had a steak and a couple of glasses of red one night in Montreal, and that was it.
Right. Partied up big time.
Yeah. So it was. But I mean, that's it was a thrill. And when I got home, the World Triathlon people had actually put a thing on their Facebook. Yep. And there's over 3,000 likes, and there's like 120 comments, and about 350 or 60 people have copied someone else on it, and I just couldn't believe that sort of thing.
Yeah,
it was just went beyond my mind basically that something like that would happen, because I mean a lot of the people I can't even understand the comments because they're not in English.
Right.
And I've had so many people want to be my friend you wouldn't believe.
Yeah. You're very popular.
But that's, so those 3 add to the other 2 I already had.
Yeah.
One from the Gold Coast in 2009 and one from New Zealand a couple of years ago.
Yeah, because I know.
So it's been really, really good.
Yeah, because I know that when I was working with you on the bike, you came back from some event, I can't remember what it was, and I think you got a second in the world.
Yeah, I did. I had a second in China and a second in the US as well. Yeah. Last year in London was a bit of a disaster. It was a terrible day, and I just went too hard on the bike and I kept running off the road. In the weather, it poured. It was absolutely pouring all the time.
Oh,
I think out of probably the 2,000 competitors, probably 200 or 300 of them actually crashed.
Yeah, God.
Yeah. So it's been a great experience, and does feel good. But I'm just glad that at my age I can still do it.
Yep. Yeah, excellent. Fantastic, Ken. Well, look, again, thanks very much for your time, and it's been great to catch up with you again, and I'm glad that those indoor training sessions that we did down at Bike Park, a few years ago has really helped you solidify that technique on the bike.
I can still hear those words of yours.
Strong, powerful.
Circles, sit hard on the seat,
Yeah, no, it's great. All right, well, look, have a good one, and all the best with your full Ironman.
Thanks. I'll need it.
You're welcome. All right, Ken. Thanks for that.
Thanks, Dave. Okay, bye.
Thanks for listening to Cycling Training Tips with David Heatley. Get more episodes, more tips, and download our free cycling training ebooks at cycling-inform.com.